In 2001, Tite Kubo officially serialized one of the biggest mangas in Weekly Shonen Jump. The series was known as Bleach. However, while many people know about Bleach, few people have read the man's previous work, Zombie Powder. I know prior to making this video, while I've heard about it, I hadn't fully read the series. And I can truly say that I fully regret it, as Zombie Powder is genuinely an interesting and enticing journey, with one of the coolest protagonists ever. I mean, the Mad Lad has a trench coat. Do I need to say more? Zombie Powder is a manga series that was written in 1999 and was Tite Kubo's first serialized manga. It was written during a time where Kubo was in a very dark and emotional part of his life, and through that, you can have a much darker story. In fact, while some believe the manga ended due to poor reception, many others believe he had chosen to end it due to emotional traumatic experiences going on in his life. Keep in mind, while I loved this story, Kubo originally despised it. In Zombie Powder's Volume 3's author notes, Kubo says the following: "For certain reasons, I was forced to start Zombie Powder in a shaky emotional state. In the beginning, I was so critical of what I had drawn, I could even bear to look at the finished product. It's only from the third volume onward that I've finally been able to look at my work. Alright, read on. This is my manga." Something must have happened in his life between his official serialization announcement and the start to his manga. Apparently, he also did not have the best relationship with his editors during the serialization, and oftentimes he made what they had decided instead of what he had felt led to draw. I think we know for a fact that Zombie Powder was not cancelled, but ended in a more mutual understanding, as Kubo quickly returned to Jump to release Bleach only a few years later. And he also said in Volume 4 of Zombie Powder that he might return to finish the story one day. And as much as I love this story, I genuinely hope Kubo does not return to finish it. It's obvious that this serialization happened in a very dark time in his life. Perhaps he was dealing with depression or the loss of a loved one, but something traumatic had to have happened. And for him to return to this manga, it would force him to go back to this traumatic experience of his life. But besides the history involving the manga series serialization, what is Zombie Powder, and is it truly any good? Now keep in mind, I've only read the first volume of the manga, and will only be discussing events from the first 2 chapters, unless I decide to throw in a spoiler warning here or there. The first chapter has a very western setting, and as we learn quickly about the story, we realize that it is about men whom are after this magical stuff called the Zombie Powder. It can raise the dead or grant the living eternal life, and our protagonist Gamma is after this zombie powder. The manga begins with a gang leader counting money and speaking to a boy named Elwood, promising to not tell Elwood's sister about his involvement with their gang. Meanwhile, the protagonist Gamma enters a western tavern bar-like place, and we learn that he is after the Rings of the Dead, and that if he collects 12 of them, he will be able to get the legendary zombie powder. We already know that Gamma has found some already. Meanwhile, a pickpocketer snatches Gamma's wallet and Gamma chases after them. It turns out that the pickpocketer was Elwood, and he snatched a fake wallet, and as an apology payment, Gamma required a meal. However, as they went to Elwood's home, we see a gang member spot them. They end up having a meal at Elwood, and him and his sister made it. We eventually find out that Elwood has been pickpocketing because he is a part of this gang called the Grey Ants. This causes Gamma to question Elwood's reason for doing this, and we learn it's because they lost their business, because the Grey Ants forced it into bankruptcy. So in order for Elwood to get the money to save his sister from her illness, he had to join them. This gang, however, was spying on them and thought that he was using Gamma for his bounty and was hiding it from the Grey Ants. Gamma yells at Elwood, telling him that they'll kill him before he can help his sister, but Elwood doesn't care. His only life mission is to save her. As such, Gamma thanks him for his meal and departs. After Gamma leaves, the Grey Ants destroy Elwood's home, kills his sister, and demands the location of Gamma. After all, he had a 960 million bounty. As Elwood is about to be killed, Gamma appears and kicks him away, complaining that he had to do all this stuff to track down nobodies like the Grey Ants. Gamma then defeats them all in complete badassery, using his chainsaw like a sword, completely demolishing them all. Elwood then decides to join Gamma on his quest to find the zombie powder to bring his sister back to life. And that right there was chapter 1. Can I just say I absolutely love this manga from its first chapter alone? Gamma is such a cool protagonist with this really fun, energetic personality, and his design feels like the prequel to Grimmjow in so many ways. Elwood had such an interesting background and immediately an enticing motivation that really humanized him in so many ways, as we can all relate to wanting to save the ones we love, and even bring them back from the dead if there was a way to do so. Both characters got excellent characterization early on in the manga. Gamma being genuinely cool carries on throughout the entire manga too. Especially in panels like these three right here. He just genuinely has some of the coolest comebacks and responses. In the second chapter, we learn that he is after immortality and that is why he personally seeks the zombie powder. And while we apparently never learn his reason for this goal, I'm sure it would have been an interesting one to say the least. The art style really gives off these early Bleach vibes in its aesthetic and art style, and overall I am genuinely really excited to catch up to this manga. So far, for the first 10 chapters of Zombie Powder, I prefer them over the first 10 chapters of Bleach. I am not ready to see how this manga will abruptly end, as I wish it had genuinely gotten a conclusive ending as a whole. However, I know I will be content with it overall. The first 10 chapters of Zombie Powder for me have all been an 8 out of 10 in terms of quality and writing. I will definitely say that Gamma carries the cast so far for me, but the other characters are still unique and fun. Gamma just feels like this really nice Grimmjow with a tint of Ichigo personality wise, and a cowboy Grimmjow for design. Speaking of which, Zombie Powder's world was really interesting too, along with this western feel. Apparently originally it was going to be closer to like the samurai setting, but Kubo decided to change it last second. Anyway, overall Zombie Powder was a really enjoyable ride that I plan to finish and give my final rating over on Twitter. You can follow me, links are in the description. If Kubo does decide to finish the story of Zombie Powder, I am more than happy to read it. However, I am content with him choosing to not do so, due to the dark history surrounding the serialization and just how long it's been since the last chapter's released. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and comment down below. Anyway, in the words of Genichimaru, bye bye!